I composed a letter to my husband, then shredded it into fragments. Not from a place of anger, yet since I no longer required his presence I sensed that I was present. Moreover, I find myself at 40. I once believed I was merely a silent presence within a dwelling where my husband no longer gazed at me. The child was soon to depart. Yet, there was Cody. My son took me to a cabin in the snow forest. And there in the frigid air, in the chill, I discovered the essence of existence. Once more through laughter, a descent into the snow, accompanied by a photograph that stirred my emotions. Come to the realization, so I remain myself. Have you ever existed for others to such an extent that have you lost sight of the person you once were? Distribute among myself. For perhaps my path of enlightenment began in a manner quite similar to yours. Never did I imagine I would find myself stepping within a rustic cabin nestled in the heart of the pine forest blanketed in snow, particularly not in the company of my son. Yet, there are moments when it is the unforeseen moments that shape the critical junctures we require. Cody had only I celebrated my 21st birthday last month. He was almost he stood a head taller than I, silent, yet his eyes spoke volumes, consistently radiated a soft, comforting glow, subtly perceptive. The manner in which he posed that question, "Good morning, Mom, would you like to go somewhere for a few days?" stirred within me. Halt. It seems my son had observed the void reflected in my gaze, the meals, where his father, Edward, had once been missing for weeks, yet I continue to tidy up the kitchen each evening from an empty routine. A quaint little cabin sits nestled in the woods, beside a tranquil lake, the very one where I spent my nights camping, my course. It is serene, truly exquisite, Cody remarked, his hands gently guiding the circular object. Thus commenced our journey. No solid arrangements, no journey schedule, merely a mother and her son journeying along the peak. As the vehicle made its way onto as I traversed the snow-covered road, an undeniable warmth enveloped my heart, gentle. Surrounding us stood a majestic array of pine trees, quiet and pale. The breeze murmured amidst the skeletal branches, and the rustic cabin emerged into sight, diminutive, worn by time, yet with a warmth that evoked nostalgia. With a swift motion, Cody flung the door open. "Still the same as before," he said with a smile, a glimmer of reminiscence in his gaze. The chamber possessed an ancient fireplace, a handful of wool-clad armchairs and a weathered oak dining table. I lingered in silence for what felt like an eternity. For the last 15 years, I have resided, enveloped by the warmth of gas stoves, laundry in progress, the hum of machines, accompanied by the sound of Edward's professional telephone conversations. It had been an eternity since I last found a moment to breathe, merely for my own sake. The evening descended with remarkable swiftness. The snow started to descend once more. Cody ignited the flames danced as I took off my wool scarf, lowering myself onto the floor rug, observing the flames twirl and sway. It seemed as though returning to a more instinctual essence, and straightforward. "Are you feeling hungry?" I inquired. Cody inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Instant noodles, too, are fine, as long as you join me for a meal." Just a single sentence, and I found myself on the brink of tears. I overlooked the simple act of taking a seat to enjoy a meal with someone, taking our time, without being relegated to the shadows of another, was a treasure beyond measure. Within the confines of the cabin, Cody and I reclined in ease, savoring our dining together. Silence enveloped the room, yet that silence enveloped me in a warmth unlike any other, the most extraordinary birthday celebration I have ever orchestrated. As night enveloped the world, I reclined on the modest wooden bed, enveloped in a plush down blanket. As I gazed up at the cabin's ceiling, I heard the wind playfully caressing the tin roof, the crackling of firewood from beyond the space, accompanied by the soft rhythm of inhalation. Cody, my sole offspring, who had rescued me of a chill I believed was irretrievable. As I murmured softly to myself, perhaps it was more than merely a journey to flee the chill. Perhaps this is the moment I begin to truly embrace life once more. I stirred from slumber, greeted by a delicate aroma of coffee wafting through the crevice of a door crafted from wood. The morning light seeped through the delicate linen curtain as soft, like a second blanket cascading over the chamber. I rose from my slumber, donned clad in a wool sweater, and in that moment, I caught sight of Cody, gazing out from the kitchen window, a cup of, with coffee cradled in his hands. His eyes wandered thoughtfully, far away into the snow. "It's your turn, is it early?" I inquired gently, a hint of trepidation in my voice. Interrupt the serenity of the moment. Cody pivoted, a smile gracing his lips. "This location creates, I yearn to cherish each fleeting moment. Furthermore, I craft exceptional coffee. Desire to experiment, perhaps?" I settled into the embrace of the rocking chair, by the warmth of the hearth. Cody extended his hand, offering me a cup of coffee, its warmth enveloping and soothing. Silence enveloped us, leaving no words to bridge the gap. The only sound was the crunch of snow beneath my feet. Beyond the porch, the soft crackle of the firewood and the stove, and the calm rhythm of a mother striving to rediscover the art of simply being still. Our time was devoted. I spent the entire morning organizing the cabin, not out of necessity, but as it provided us with an activity, united. As Cody diligently wiped the windows, I neatly arranged blankets and stored away a few vintage items into the wooden cabinet. The small task resembled the delicate act of stitching things back together. The thread of connection weaves long together, lost in the space between a mother and her son. I could not recall the most recent occasion when we had simply existed together, devoid of any other disruptions from phones, emails, or trivial disputes. Yet here, all is present, seemed more straightforward and airy. As the clock struck noon, the snow continued to descend, yet the sky had illuminated. Cody yanked me from the retreat. "Have you ever ventured into the snowy wilderness on a hike, Mother?" I chuckled softly and gave my head a gentle shake, somewhat timid as I gazed up at the imposing. He handed me the snowshoes. "No, I am beyond that, accustomed to strolling through markets." "Indeed, Len, today you find yourself traversing the woods alongside me." We entered the snow, our feet softly sinking into the immaculate white expanse. The pine forest remained accompanied solely by the echo of the gentle inhalations and the sporadic whisper of limbs. I was unprepared for the depth of such tranquility derived from the mere act of simply strolling. Dak placed his palm upon me, the instant I stepped inside. Reflecting on his previous camping excursions with companions gathered here. His voice had faded away, blunt and concise as always, yet inviting, brimming with excitement. I came to understand the son had matured, not merely in height, but in the manner of his listening, the manner in which he gazed upon me free of judgment, devoid of hastening. As we came to a halt in a sunlit clearing, Cody recalled, "In my childhood, if you experienced a headache or felt troubled, you would frequently venture into the backyard. You were unaware that I had taken notice, were you?" "Stilled. I believed you were too young to comprehend." Cody gave a slight shake of his head, with careful consideration. "I observed, and I forever longed for a companion to support you, wouldn't need to continue bearing it all together." I averted my gaze, my eyes fluttering swiftly to prevent the tears from spilling. In that instant, I didn't merely observe Cody, not merely as my son, but as a young man, brimming with comprehending and growth and development. A fragment of my being sensed a sense of support. Upon returning to the cabin, I settled onto the porch steps, my cheeks tinged with a rosy hue from the chili. Cody presented me with a steaming cup of ginger tea. "Where shall we venture to tomorrow, Mom?" I murmured, shaking my head as I gazed at the falling snow persist in their quiet descent. "No, it will not. Could you linger here a few more days?" I yearned to extend this sensation, that for countless years as a spouse and a mother, I had lost sight of who I truly am, without the necessity of achieving perfection. That night, the house was shrouded in an eerie quietude. Edward had yet to return to the place where you belong. I found myself in the kitchen, towel in hand, drying the final dish from the remnants, birthday delicacies, then draped the towel over its captivating allure. Cody found himself on the upper floor. I might be able to. Gentle melodies drift from his room, steady instrumental melodies weaving through the air, a murmur shrouded in ambiguity. I pondered whether he was contemplating what occurred at the shore. I was unable to cease your contemplation. Stepping in the living room, I settled onto the sofa and draped a delicate blanket across my legs. Every object in this house exuded such known. From the reading lamp that illuminated, a fractured hinge clinging to the weathered wedding photograph, tilted ever so slightly on the wall. All things seemed intricately woven into the fabric of my existence. And yet, at this moment, uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me questioning my own state of being, dwelling within it or merely fulfilling a part. Another had made the choice on my behalf. I let out a weary breath. In an instant, I caught the sound of delicate footsteps upon the stairs, and then Cody emerged in. The threshold cradled a glass of water, wide awake. I was on the verge of you. I find myself wide awake as well. He strolled over and settled next to me, still grasping the crystal. Moments slipped by, wrapped in quietude. Then I began to speak. Did today seem somewhat distinct from you? Cody cast his gaze in my direction and offered a subtle nod. You appeared not to be. Are you feeling somewhat detached? I offered a subtle grin. Perhaps it is a matter of my years. Upon your arrival, at a particular juncture, one finds themselves contemplating more deeply concerning the items you have misplaced. I haven't lost anything, Cody said. Additionally, there was an unmistakable quality in his voice that compelled me to turn and gaze into his eyes. You are the one, maintaining cohesion amidst the chaos. In the absence of, I believe this family would possess, disintegrated long ago. My soul, secured. Cody's words flowed softly, yet a poignant reminder. Had I truly maintained, is everything coming together? Or was I merely feigning ignorance to the fractures? Edward, I find myself in a moment of uncertainty. Do you know your father? He seems to be losing his grip. Absent? Cody remained quiet for an extended pause. Then, they responded. I believe he has already departed, in a distant past. Shut my eyes, yet not asleep, of astonishment, yet due to the fact that it had never been uttered previously, and now my own son had confirmed it. Yet you remain here, Cody continued. And so am I. We still have one another. I pivoted towards. I am thankful for the words of my son. Cody's. An aura of warmth and encouragement enveloped the atmosphere. At that instant, I failed to perceive him as the tiny being I once held, yet as a grown man, a man whose heart is vast and generous, to witness the suffering. Even my husband, no. Prolonged observation. I remained silent, otherwise. We lingered in quiet companionship. The rhythmic sound of the clocks ticking fills the air, as though time itself had granted me a moment of stillness, to ponder, to inhale, and to comprehend, that even if Edward had lost sight of who I was still perceived by my own son. Aware of the duration I had been seated after, Cody returned to his chamber. Perhaps a handful, moments, perhaps an hour. Yet, as I, at last rose to my feet, the familiar fog and the heaviness of fatigue was abruptly dispelled, as though an unseen force had drawn aside a weighty veil from my thoughts. I entered the bathroom and switched on the illumination, and gazed directly into the reflection. The visage reflecting before me was no longer the vibrant woman of yesteryear, a wedding photo that I had been familiar with for quite some time. Yet this evening, for the very first time in 4 years, I genuinely discovered my true self. Not yet, neither Edward's wife nor Cody's mother. It is only myself. A woman gradually unraveling her own essence, in the stillness of moments when no one inquired how she existed in the monotony of silence. Culinary creations. Within the realm of quiet devotion, so unwavering that even she had lost track, it was in the process of creation. I steadied myself with both hands. Upon the sink, I let out a breath with precision. A subtle shiver coursed through me, vertebral column. It was not suffering. It was a moment of pure clarity. I recalled the initial moments of existence as a spouse, a parent. In a time long past, I harbored aspirations, launching a quaint bakery, penning a novel, mastering a new tongue. Yet piece by piece, I had woven all of it into the fabric of family dinners, reflecting Cody's commendable conduct, into the schedule of Edward's work. Had it existed for, all others have been overlooked, leaving this one behind. Veracity. If a woman ceases to exist for, she vanishes, even when she is ever lingering in each family photograph. A tear slipped silently down my cheek. However, in that moment, it was not a tear born of self-pity. It was a tear of awakening. I have ceased to long to be the unseen element of this dwelling. I never wished to embody the woman. Edward felt a deep sense of gratitude for her presence, endurance. I found myself reluctant to embrace the role of a mother. Cody gazed with a subdued sorrow as he observed her dissolve into quietude. I desired to rediscover my voice once more. I wished to select a day brimming with melodies, a spark of wonder, a moment that brought a smile to my face. Without any apparent cause, uncertainty loomed over my thoughts, leaving me at a crossroads of indecision. Yet the moment I realized, the dawn of tomorrow would arrive, distinct. I gazed at my reflection glanced at the reflection once more. The shadowy rings beneath my eyes lingered, yet a faint shimmer of something lingered just beyond reach. Pride. Younger was not a necessity for me, more beautiful, or admired by anyone. I merely needed to remain authentic to my true self, experienced. That night, I reclined and shut my eyes, devoid of anxiety or regret, yet with a renewed, potent sense of tranquility, as if I had merely emerged from a tempest and stood in the early glow of dawn. I had just begun to drift into slumber when the phone rang, its tone sharp and cold, as if drawing me down from the realm of dreams to the solid ground of reality, remained incomplete. The clock caught my eye, music, 208. I sprang to attention, my heart thumping. Cody, the name of my son, was the very first thing to whirl through my thoughts. As if guided by an innate sense, as a mother, I seized the phone, my voice quaking. Greetings. At the opposite end lay a resonant, compelling masculine tone. Do you find yourself? Is it Edward's spouse? I stood still, caught in a moment of sheer disbelief. Indeed. What is happening? We are reaching out from the central medical facility. Your Edward, my husband, fell to the ground while he was working. Tardy. He is presently receiving treatment in the cardiology emergency unit. Could you please come immediately? I remained there, utterly astonished, and could only respond, I'm on my way. I navigated the darkness, my fingers clutching the steering wheel with intensity. The streets lay abandoned, bathed in a warm amber glow, lights extending in a web of tingling lines within the recesses of my mind. Questions whirled, untamed. Is Edward doing well? Were there to have been? Are there any indications? What caused me to overlook this? Yet, what astonished me the most was the sensation within my chest. I felt no fear of loss. Edward. Unease washed over me as an unspoken truth lingered, an elusive thought, incomplete, despite my belief that I had finished. Release it. I made my way to the hospital and hurried into the waiting area, my gaze focused on the shut doors of the urgent care facility. A short while later, the young doctor emerged and took off his disguise. He's no longer in peril. Fortunately, you brought him here just in time. I nodded in agreement. Thank you, yet my heart remains unyielding in its pace, lowered. Upon my entry, Edward was reclining in stillness, wan and weary, the visage I was once perceived as cold and distant, now curiously exposed. I remained motionless for an extended period elapsed before taking a seat beside him. Edward awoke and gazed upon me. There was nothing particularly striking about it, was merely a weary and sincere look. He murmured, I apologize for everything. Words eluded me. In that instant, every ounce of fury, the void, the letdown I had clung to, onto appeared to disperse. Edward, The husband I believed had vanished into. His work was at its most delicate here. And I, the woman who had only just started to recall her former self, found herself unexpectedly confronted, pondering whether he genuinely transformations, what shall I undertake? On that particular evening, as I sat beside the hospital bed, I found myself lost in thought. Slumber, yet the desire to do so had faded away. Dash forward. Uncertainty loomed over me, leaving me to ponder the outcome, alongside Edward, by my side, and with Cody. However, I understood a singular truth. Each expedition of awakening requires a journey through disruption, for it is within those moments that we genuinely grasp our desired destination. A week following Edward's discharge from the hospital, the house took on an eerie quality. Silent. Gone are the days of hastily slamming doors, or calls that echo in the stillness of midnight. Edward embarked on his journey, telecommuting from the comfort of one's abode. The physician remarked that he required total respite for a minimum of 3 weeks. He accepted it, albeit with reluctance. I found myself at a loss regarding what to do with the chasm that had formed between us. I rose early as is my custom, prepared. After savoring a cup of coffee, I tidied the kitchen and prepared for the day ahead. Morning sustenance for Cody. However, at this moment, Edward too remained seated in the place where only in the chair once stood empty. We shared courteous looks, a handful of inquiries about well-being, then silence enveloped the heart of the home. On that afternoon when Cody venturing out to meet his friends, I stepped into the office of Edward, albeit temporary. He existed, gazing out the window as though something out there could rescue him from the shadows, unspoken. It was I who initiated the conversation. Hold on, he turned around, his eyes weary, yet not evading my own. I settled into the chair opposite from him. Silence enveloped us, words unspoken between us, for an extended period. Then I inquired, have you ever noticed the depth of my solitude? Len gazed at me this time, his stare lingering, then, a subtle nod followed. Indeed, yet I was unaware of what it was to engage with it. Work was the sole focus of my attention. I sensed that I still possessed a certain proficiency. I delivered a lackluster chuckle. What of me? What is the situation with Cody? What of all the dinners I longed for? Is anyone there? Yet, he remained silent. He merely gazed at his hands, contemplating their significance. Discover the solution within. I am aware that you are. With a simmering frustration, Edward spoke deliberately. However, I found myself fearful that if I were to cease, I would be compelled to confront reality. That I am no longer the man you once chose. My chest tightened. Throughout the years we shared our lives, Edward had always maintained a flawless facade, his armor. Until this moment. I inhaled deeply, taking a breath, then replied, I don't require anyone flawless. I simply seek someone genuine, present. Edward lifted his gaze. For the first time in many years, his eyes were. It was a foggy moment, and I feared I had lost you, Edward. Yet, do you realize what the most terrifying aspect was? Before that moment, I had already become a stranger to myself. That conversation did not conclude with any resolution. Yet, it was a sincere. It all starts simply. There are no extravagant displays, no vows. We did not hold each other and weep, did not attempt to recreate our past romance narrative. Yet, after an extended period, in the moments we shared, our eyes did not meet. Roles, not out of obligation, but through genuine eyes. That evening, as Cody approached the kitchen window, standing there, home. I glanced back at my son, motionless, the boy I once knew, yet evolving alongside. With every hour that slipped away, I sensed, perhaps, this path of healing extended beyond my own self and Edward, but for an entire kin, a unit that once believed it was already shattered. Cody remained silent when he spotted Edward and me seated at the dinner table that evening. His eyes washed over us, an amalgamation of astonishment and, carefully, as though he were peering into a well-known space filled with all the furnishings, had been rearranged. The harine leaves. I offered him a bowl of soup. My hands trembled ever so slightly. Edward gently ladled rice into his own bowl. Silence enveloped the room, yet an unspoken tension lingered in the air. Distinct. A sort of stillness that the weight of time lingered, yet it seemed as though the initial notes of a melody softly emerged, setting the stage for a journey yet to unfold. Its prelude. Once the dinner was tidied up he went, Cody ascending the stairs. I let out a sigh, contemplating that he likely required some time. Yet, fewer than 15 minutes had passed when a gentle knock echoed through the air, knocked softly on my bedroom door. "Mom, are you preoccupied?" Pivoted. Cody was positioned at the threshold. No phone, no earbuds, just the young lad, now towering, possesses something. There was a silence in his gaze. I simply shook my head. "Step inside, my dear. Take a seat in the chair stood still for a moment. Then he whispered gently, as though fearing to break something delicate. "You and father, you are, once more, are you not?" The inquiry left me speechless. I yearned to respond appropriately, yet I hesitated. In his gaze, I didn't perceive curiosity, rather, I sensed concern, whispers of hope for understanding, yet shadows of fear linger, of experiencing pain. "I can't say for certain," I responded candidly. "However, I believe we are beginning to converse once more, genuinely, individuals." Cody nodded, then cast his gaze downward, absent-mindedly tugging at a loose thread on the sleeve of his hoodie. I believe I was raised in a home filled with individuals, spoke extensively, yet never truly conveyed anything genuine. My throat constricted and, at times, it seemed as though I was poised amidst two unfamiliar souls striving to maintain. Everything is crumbling away. I strolled. She approached and settled beside him. I positioned my fingers softly brushed against his. "You are not obligated to proceed with that, Cody. No child ought to ever bear that weight." Cody lifted his gaze, his eyes rimmed in crimson. "Yet, if not I, then who shall take the mantle?" The heart lay in fragments. I drew, wrapped him in a warm embrace, the first genuine one, after an extensive period. And within that, as I embraced the moment, a realization dawned upon me, one I had never encountered before, taken into account previously. It was merely Edward, and I, who had been thoroughly exhausted by quietude. Cody found himself ensnared in the web of victimhood as well. Among all the vacant voids we had forsaken, once he departed the room, I found myself in solitude, unsettled. Maybe the path leading to the journey of healing does not commence with the union of marriage. It commences with the bravery to confront the scars we've inflicted on those we cherish, the majority. A week following the dialogue with Cody, the inaugural snowfall of the season commenced to cascade softly across the backyard. I remained by the window, observing the snowflakes descend softly, as if moments reminiscent of days gone by. Silence reigns, neither dazzling nor loud, merely a serene existence. Edward strolled over, cradling 2 mugs of rich and velvety hot cocoa, one crafted for him, and one indulgently prepared for me. We said nothing, yet our gazes spoke volumes. They had increasingly steered clear of one another. Something had transpired, transformed. Not entirely an act of forgiveness, yet acknowledgement. "I'm trying," Edward remarked, gently, truly. "Let us not revisit how things were, yet to discover the essence of becoming the partner you truly deserve." I grasped the mug from my hand, lightly grazing his. The gentle embrace of warmth did not render me weak. It brought clarity to my mind. I remained silent. There was no urgency for me, neither of us did. In the distance, Cody stood, clearing the walkway of snow, wrapped in layers, wrapped in a heavy coat with a hood drawn tightly over the auditory organs. Yet, I caught a glimpse of his smile when a delicate snowflake settled gently upon his nose, and he inclined his gaze toward the heavens, embracing it, akin to a jest from the natural world. I took a step. Outdoors, a voice rang out. "Exercise caution in your surroundings, or you shall encounter a frigid." Cody glanced over his shoulder and shouted, "It's all right, Mom. The snow is light." It's warm underneath. I remained there for a. He paused, contemplating the weight of his words. Underneath the delicate layer of snow, the earth lies, cozy. Perhaps that encapsulates the core of this kin. Even after the chill, even beneath strata of stillness, resentment, or pain, soil remains beneath the surface. Yet a sanctuary for new beginnings, a space to establish oneself anew. That, as the evening unfolded, the three of us gathered in close proximity at the dining table. No elaborate schemes, no significant an occasion, simply pasta and toasted loaves of bread, a handful of fragmented tales, and gentle, joyful mirth. Yet, I experienced a deeper sense of tranquility than I had it in a long time. I'm uncertain about what tomorrow holds in store. Perhaps Edward and we shall never return to what we once were. Perhaps Cody is set to depart for school and embark on his personal existence. Yet, I am aware of this. We possessed the bravery to meet each other's gaze, to truly see, facing the truth, yet opting to turn away, departed. For me, that is sufficient to warrant a call. It is a new beginning. At times, the most terrifying aspect isn't what we have accomplished, yet when we cease to see our reflections in the glass. The mother in this tale did not merely survive anguish. She reached the profound depths of isolation. From that point onward, she rediscovered the true essence of self-love, and without reservation. Life is filled with unforeseen twists and turns, instances when we sense we've been defeated, all things considered. Yet, if we possess the courage to confront our emotions with honesty, to meet our errors, and select what is correct, this is the essence of true growth. Because maturity does not arise from the absence of experience, descending, yet discovering the art of ascent, once more, with a heart that continues to hold on to hope. May this tale serve as a gentle nudge towards enlightenment. At times, it starts with a subtle fracture. Heartfelt, healing unfolds as a solitary journey, yet it is not without significance. And love, if only for a fleeting moment, broken, yet can be restored if we decide